When we talk about luxurious vehicles in Africa, we talk about Dr. Cosmos Maduka, the incredible Christian billionaire. At the same time, if you're looking for someone who is so serious about God, call Pastor Cosmos Maduka. But really, how does he manage to be so serious about God and so serious about money? According to Forbes, he's worth over 500 million US dollars. And as you might guess, he grew from extreme poverty to build this multi-million-dollar empire. But there is something more about his story. Despite once being accused of business fraud, despite being enticed by hookup girls at a particular business trip in Taiwan, despite the unfortunate involvement in one of the biggest business loan scandals in the history of banking in Nigeria, one question that remains on our hearts is, how has he managed to be so successful in business and so impactful as a Christian minister? This is one story you cannot afford to miss. Join me as I take you through the journey of Dr. Cosmos Maduka, the incredible Christian billionaire. Cosmos was born on the 24th of December 1958. His parents happened to be in the central part of Nigeria at that time. 4 years after his birth, his father died, but however, he had a very hardworking Christian mother. She encouraged her children to believe in God and believe in themselves despite the loss of their dad. Not long after, the Civil War broke out. As a result, Cosmos and his family could not plant anything, so that meant they would not have any food on their table. It wasn't long before the food they had stored before the Civil War ran out. As a result, they ate anything they could find, including leaves, just to survive. They would first give the food to an animal, and if the animal survived, they would eat the same thing too. During this period, many children began to suffer from kwashiorkor, but Cosmos was not affected due to his regular consumption of various leaves. Despite all this, his mother continued to train them in the way of the Lord. She was a devoted Catholic. Every morning, she made them pray the Catholic prayers. Sometimes it was difficult for Cosmos and the siblings to wake up, but their mother insisted. She would pour water on them or smack them many times early in the morning. While this might have seemed harsh, it helped to discipline Cosmos and his siblings. As time went on, their mother made them sell beans cakes. Cosmos and his older brother would go out to sell every morning, but he always sold far more than his brother. It was here that his mom noticed he had an advantage in business. Interestingly, as time passed, they all became more industrious because they had to do whatever they could to survive. In school, Cosmos was an excellent student, but unfortunately, his mother could not afford to support all her children financially, so she had to make the decision to focus on only one of her children. Unfortunately for Cosmos, he was sent off to live with his grandfather. While he got there, he did several domestic tasks to earn a living, but just before he turned 8 years old, he was moved to Lagos to stay with his uncle. Interestingly, this uncle of his never had a house at that time, so Cosmos had to join his uncle to live with someone else. It was really challenging for the young boy, but while in Lagos, Cosmos worked with his uncle in a motor vehicle spare parts store. At one point, his uncle made him sleep overnight in the store due to accommodation issues, but the store had no ventilation, it had no bathroom or toilet, but Cosmos literally lived in this store. Since he was always locked up in the store overnight, he had to find a way to keep himself busy. And so he began to discover certain parts from Honda vehicles that could fit into Toyota vehicles, and some Toyota parts that could fit into other brands as well. This gave him a deeper understanding of the business, which gave him a significant edge over other salesmen in the same trade. He continued to progress in life, and at the age of 14, he fully dedicated his life to Christ. He made a firm commitment to live a Christ-like life despite all the struggles he faced. From that point onward and in the years following, everything seemed to go smoothly and he began to find some joy and peace. However, unknown to Cosmos, something very bad was about to happen. His Christianity got him into serious trouble. It was as if his name was about to be changed to bad news. At the age of 18, Cosmos had learned the trade so well, working for his uncle as an apprentice. Being both hardworking and spiritual, he decided to join his church in a special fasting and prayer program. To focus properly on the fasting and prayers, he decided to close down his uncle's business store so he could have undivided attention towards the program. He planned to pray so well for the expansion of the business during this fasting program, but unfortunately, his uncle found out and became very angry with him, and so he decided to dismiss Cosmos from the apprenticeship. To show his seriousness, he offered Cosmos a compensation fee for all his service as an apprentice, then asked him to leave. But the compensation fee made Cosmos to be angry because it was not enough compensation for 5.5 years of service. Normally, an apprentice is to be given a business store, startup capital, and merchandise when released. But Cosmos was offered next to nothing by his uncle. Cosmos was filled with anger and disappointment, but he recalled how God hardened the heart of Pharaoh in the Bible to show his might in Egypt. So with confidence, Cosmos told his uncle, "I served thee well. I never stole from you. 5 years from now, you will hear of how successful I would have become." And so Cosmos left so disappointed. Unknown to Cosmos, this was a blessing in disguise. After being dismissed from his apprenticeship, Cosmos shook off the discouragement. He was so determined to continue pursuing his passion and never give up. He has always been clear from onset about what he wanted in life. So he teamed up with his brother who had a business. He gave the little compensation he received from his uncle to his brother to add onto his investment capital, making him to own a portion of the business. So they went on to do business, but their partnership only lasted for 6 months due to a huge difference in mentality. They often argued because Cosmos had a habit of challenging things he believed could be done better in the business. By that time, Cosmos had made a little more money over his initial investment into his brother's business capital. So he took out the money and they went their separate ways. Not long after, he approached a friend who offered him a quarter of his store for free. This friend allowed Cosmos to trade in the store for 6 months, giving him the chance to grow with the little he had. Cosmos seized the opportunity and worked hard. And as time went on, his hard work and skill in discovering various use cases from mechanical parts began to pay off. By divine guidance, he discovered a new product that had a secondary use apart from its primary function. It was a motorcycle crash bar. This was a very great opportunity for Cosmos, so he decided to go right into Lagos to get these crash bars and bring them straight into the eastern part of Nigeria to sell them. He repeated this process many times, making substantial profits. It was a prosperous season in his life. With his newfound success, he bought himself a motorcycle, he rented a house, and expanded his business to venture into importation. It was indeed a prosperous season for him, but there was one problem. Knowing he had a great vision in life, he feared squandering his money on reckless living. Sensing the need for stability, he desired to get married early. But there was one challenge: he had to find a wife.